Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each episode gives you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I am Benedicte, and I'm feeling excited.
And I'm Benedikt. Today is February 3rd. This is episode number 236, and I'm feeling determined.
Determined. What are you doing? What are you determined about?
I think it's nothing in particular. It's like more like this overall feeling of like I'll get shit done, and we will make some progress, and everything will be nice and good, and just motivated to tackle stuff and solve problems and move the business forward. I think that's the general gist of it.
I mean, it's February already, so
it is. It's not amazing. It's wild, right? Like it's wild that it's February already. Yes.
And I feel like my January has gone to birthdays as always, but
as
also
usual.
falling in thoroughly into like the AI pot, or however we say it, like when you or drank the Kool-Aid, I guess. I drank the Kool-Aid.
Right.
At least I am researching. I'm like reading everything. I'm researching. I'm testing out different workflows on my machine. And I'm at that stage that people have been talking about, on Twitter, X, that, you don't go to bed. Yesterday, I was like, let's see if I can do this like third, fourth, fifth vertical and I was testing out codecs, because Cursor comes with both the codecs, I think they're called, models, and the Opus model. And somebody, I guess the guy between Claude Bot /Maltbot /OpenClaw was like, codecs is the thing. So I was like testing that out. And it was fun. And just, I don't want to stop. I'm like, I need to get these 10 agents working through the night. No, I know in the back of my mind, like, I know this is a rabbit hole, and I get in like periods of intense like research and just like exploration and learning. And you know what? I'm going to give myself that. I needed a little bit of just having fun, like diving into something and like learning so much and trying to synthesize and trying to understand. I needed that. I needed that this year. So it's been a good start. It's kind of been a good start to the year. Has it made me more productive? I don't know.
But at least it feels like I'm getting stuff done.
I don't know if I feel like I'm getting so much more done, but like I'm definitely understanding more. I don't know if I can formulate it all yet, but like the whole, how to keep things fresh in memory and the context boundaries and all of the things that you need to manage if the AI is gonna work for you. And then I did the most YOLO thing, or the most Queen Ray thing I have done in a very long time. I almost bought the Mac Mini because I wanted to test out the Claude Bot. I didn't, but what I did was pitch it as a talk. So on February 25th, I'm going to do a talk on OpenClaw, which I still haven't installed because I've been trying to focus on what, my work. But it's gonna happen this week. I'm just going to do it on some sort of, server, managed server or whatever. I haven't fully decided, and just like test stuff out. And I had, Jean-Claude, which is going to be his name. Since we've been calling Jean-Claude in this family for so long. So my Jean-Claude plans is that if this is fun and I get this talk done, I might be able to shop it around Oslo, because I got Jean-Claude to do some research on speaker fees. And obviously, AI speaker fees are very high at the moment. So if this could like propel me into doing I don't know if I want to travel around so much, but just like doing internal talks here in Oslo through my connections, like that could be a fun way to get some, some money out of this rabbit hole. And also like be more, I'm excited, but I still like, I feel like I'm more down to earth than a lot of the people around town. And like, there's a lot of talks from the non-techs. It's like there's something called Digital Norway, who's like, all of Norway needs to be like AI pilled. And I'm like, really, really, do we? I don't know if we want to do that. So being able to maybe have more of like a hands down talk around, the Claude Bot, because I think that's still, or Open Claw, sorry. I think that's like it's a fun demo. It's a fun thing that like showcases some of the possibilities, but you could still demo it with something that non-coders could understand. Like it is a lot of like personal assistant. I thought maybe it could become like our wedding planner. Like that's a fun way to demo it without having it expose, very personal personal data, like have it make, a website with RSVPs, or I don't know, like something like that. That could be fun for non-technical folks as well. Just to see kind of, yeah, what's possible. So anyway, very excited. Very excited.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And luckily for me, Outseta wants to go like lean into AI, so it's not only for personal use.
Cool. Sounds exciting. I learned over the last couple of years that I am definitely not an early adopter type of person. So I'm watching especially the Open Claw Bot, or whatever it's called by now, from the outside. And I'm like, yeah, you kids go play. Once you figure out what works and what doesn't, I'll start looking into this as well. But yeah, it's wild. But at this point, yeah, not for me, I guess.
I've been kind of all over the place because I want to kind of get a sense of the things that are happening. So I've been using Claw Desktop a lot, which I feel is like what kind of, the non-technical or the not super early adopters want to use, and which kind of I was one of, because I'm still not like a big adopter of this. And then I've been trying to run Cloud Code in the terminal to kind of get a sense of how that is. And then the next step now would be to, test the OpenClaw kind of setup where, yeah, it runs more autonomously on a machine and can like do whatever on that machine, because I am not installing that on my machine. Like we are not putting that on my machine.
Yeah.
But I did recently do a full backup of the machine, just in case any of my AI exploration really.
Question: is that a new thing for you, or not?
I mean, it's not a super new thing. Like all of my code is backed up to GitHub, and then I think like still a lot of my important documents are synced up to Dropbox. Or did I turn that off? I can't remember anymore. And then I have a Time Machine hard disk that I kind of do manually. I
Okay,
had like
good.
a reminder every month, but sometimes it's 4 months, sometimes it's 5 months. But like it
Right.
got, and the photos are in Google Drive. Like, it's not that much you have like only on your computer, but like all of the setup and stuff. I had a computer crash on me and I had to send it up to Germany for like forensics, and it came
Mm,
back, cost me so much money, but also it just took me, I was like a week. I didn't have my machine and I had to set up a whole new machine, and we all know like that's a pain. So,
yeah.
yeah. But I'm not the best at it. Like, let's say that.
Me neither, but at least at this point, me think, I think I'm doing cloud backups hourly to like using Arc. It's a little Mac app that does a diff and then just syncs the diff to a cloud. And then I mean, stuff in GitHub and Dropbox, obviously. That's, I guess, the default. And then I started doing, I have a NAS that auto turns on every Friday for the entire day. And then usually my computer connects to it and also does a full sync. Because at some point I figured, like, if I ever going to need that online backup, it's going to take forever to restore from that. So I figured having something local is probably still a good idea.
Yeah, that's why I do the time machine on like a proper hard disk, because then you get the
Yeah,
full setup. You get, I don't know if you get everything. I haven't never restored from a time machine. Yeah, I have, because I have started a new computer from a time machine before. I have, because it's basically the same when you connect an old
right.
computer to a
Yeah,
new computer, and you
yeah,
um yeah, so I feel good about that. But like when I was starting to explore a little bit, I was like,
yeah.
okay, how
Makes
long
sense.
since because you're using Claude Code and you're like digitally like looking at whatever it asks for permissions, and then you're like, this is slow, and you're just like, always, always, always. And then I'm like,
Yes, 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 yes.
what is this bash command doing? I have no idea.
Right.
So anywho, and I am very vigilant about not having production keys and stuff in projects. Always having like a proper dev setup for things that are crucial. If
Right.
you don't want to delete it. So I think I'm covered. But when it comes to Clawbot, I'm gonna no, it's not Clawbot. Then one's OpenClaw. OpenClaw. I'm gonna test one of these hosted things. Either one of, because there's like been a lot popping up that is now offering it. Even Laravel Forge was like, you can run Open Claw on through Laravel Forge to just like setting up your own, like Heisner. I think it has Heisner. Is that the European cheap hosting
Hetzner, yeah.
provider? Hetzner, yeah. Because I was also like, maybe I want this to run in Europe, just as an added precaution. So
But correct me if I'm wrong. These are still using uh, Claude APIs and stuff like that, right?
yes. So what I've learned so far is that you want to set up a Claude service key, so a third-party integration kind of key. Otherwise,
Mhm.
your account will be blocked, because people have been, they were just giving it like YOLO access to their machine, and it was just like being that person on that machine, and Claude started or Anthropic started kicking them off. But I don't think I would have ever done that. Like, as developers, we know we should create service
Yeah.
keys and stuff like that. And then I have created a Google Workspace account for my Jean-Claude Van Bot, which is his name in my Google Workspace. And then he's gotten his own GitHub account. So this is something I've been thinking about for a long time too, that maybe Claude should, if it's running more autonomously and creating PRs, instead of just like being co-signed, just like have it push as the bot. Because in GitHub, which is one of my pet peeves, maybe they change it now wherein it's so much AI coding, you can't request yourself to do a review. So if Claude or Jean-Claude has his own GitHub account, he can actually request reviews from me, and I will like get that
Mhm.
up in my reminder. So I want to have it like locked down a little bit like that, and then I'll just share my personal calendar and my family calendar with it as another user. And then in my personal calendar, I can just put things on private, and he won't see the private events. He would just see that I'm blocked for those time periods. So that's like the pre-prep I've been doing. And then tonight or tomorrow, I will actually go ahead and do it.
Exciting, exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to hear how it's going. I have not been brave enough. I don't. I think yeah. No, I don't have Claude Desktop, or what's it called, installed at this point. Yeah, mostly because I don't trust it to touch anything.
So Claude Desktop, I really recommend, because they have if you have a pro subscription, you get Coworker or Cowork. So you have the chat tab, you have the Cowork tab, and then you have the code tab, and I don't know what kind of magic they've done to like differentiate these things from each other, but coworker is mostly to work with your files on your computer and work as you or as a coworker. And I think it's really good, and it's very sandboxed. Like you give it access to a folder, and if it tries to access anything outside that folder, it like asks you very explicitly, can I have access to your download folder or your whatever? So it seems to me like those permissions don't persist between sessions. So even if you gave it access to your downloads folder in one session, it's not doing that again in the next session. It will just like scope itself or sandbox itself to that to that folder. And I tried to push something to GitHub from it, and it didn't want to. Like then I had to use Claude Codes. So it is more geared toward like a professional, like non-techie. But I found it was really nice because I've been using Claude Code a lot, or not Claude Chat a lot, to do research. And then you just get a markdown file in that chat, and like, where's that going? Like it's just going to be, lost in the history of chats. But if you use Coworker, you can have it, write a markdown file to the project folder. And you get it more contained to that, and it will like can read the other files in that folder and stuff. But I haven't given it access to my email or my Gmail, or my G Drive, nothing like that. I just use it mostly to do research and then write markdown files. And I like the ergonomics of the desktop. It makes me very non-tech bro-y, but I like Claude Desktop a lot actually. So that's been my go-to, but I'm like trying to test out these other ones. And then in Claude Desktop, you can also start Claude Code in a cloud. So you ask it to do it in the cloud, and then it will just make a pull request. So that is pretty kind of locked down, where it's like working in its own environment, in its own cloud. And it has less, it doesn't have access to your computer, and it has limited access to the internet, but it can do a lot of work, and it's like not, because right now I'm like, this computer will crash soon. It's like video, and it's building OG images from my website, and it's like doing some research. I'm like, this is gonna crash. So sometimes it's good to push things up to the cloud, or I guess to your OpenClaw. I think that's what's been making people so excited about it too. Is that you can have like more work going on a computer that you're not like sitting on yourself. You can like offload things to a pretty good spec Mac Mini. I mean, they're cheaper than a laptop, and you can have like a continuous connection to it and just like push off jobs to it without taking any resources from your working laptop. So that's what I learned. So I'm a newbie noob. So if anybody listening wants me to test something for them, let us know, or let me know, and I will test the workflow for you on my
I think
OpenClaw.
I'll be interested in seeing what you use it for and what it actually helps with. Yeah. Well, let's leave it at that, I guess.
I think, so what I've read a little bit about this, that you have to think very differently. And this is I have a hard time giving up control like that. Like giving some body or something a task with like clear outcomes and just trust that it goes off and do it without going off the rails and without using all of my AI credits. It's gonna be tough. But I think it's also something I need if I'm not going to be the one coding everything all the time. Like even if it's not an AI agent, it could be like another person. Like I need to become better at create like defining tasks and planning out how multiple beings, I don't know what you should call it, could work on that project together. It's like one of the things that are hindering me. And I feel like, and this is super weird and probably, I don't know if this is a good thing, but I feel like I can like train on the AI a little bit. Like I can like give it
Yeah.
tasks and I can see it not working out, and nobody's feelings are hurt that their work is just thrown out the door, and you can just ask it again. And I even had Claude help me with like a task framework so that I can like write better tasks. So we'll see. Anyway, let's stop there. I'm just rambling on.
Yeah, as I said, like looking forward to see how this is going for you. Yeah, cool. You mentioned that Outsider is leaning into the AI stuff more. Care to elaborate about that a bit in detail?
So we have, I mean, I was pretty lukewarm, in last year, like 4 months ago, on the whole web coding space. But one of the things that I have been warm about the whole time was when I was working on the MCP server, because I do really think that a lot of our tools, the future is to kind of like bring it into somebody's chat. Like they are sitting where they're used to sitting and planning, and then it goes off and do the boring things. And for developers that have been like coding boilerplate, but for, business people, that could be go off and, get a lot of data and do an analysis on that. I'm following some people on on Twitter that are doing a lot of that with Claude Code, where they're like, "Oh, finally, could get all the data from Stripe and from the analytics software and kind of run an analysis on what worked, what didn't work, like that kind of thing." And the unique positioning and the hard thing about Atsera is we do all the things, and that's our strength and our weakness. But in kind of this era of AI enabled business operations, it can be, if we manage to, it can be like a very big differentiator that we can actually, like, we have your billing data, we have your accounts, we have your your email list, and we have your emails, and we have your support documentation. We have all of that, and together, like, if we can surface that in ways that AI agents can use it, but even also just use AI ourselves to surface things for our users. If you log into Outseta and there was like a little, you know I don't know, like an AI thing that would be like, these are the people who are likely to churn, and it could be a scorecard kind of thing, but it could also have like a little bit of a kind of like AI component to it based on that account's numbers, and not just like a scorecard that we make that is the same for everyone. But it could also be that they have easy access to all of those kinds of data, and they can do their own analysis in their chat of choice or their AI of choice. So that's the one part. It's like it's Outseta for business operators. Like, how can we enable them to get the juice out of AI, I guess, while we're sitting on all the data, and have that actually be a pro going forward. And then it's also on enabling the our customers who want to vibe code and have the MCP service and the skills and the agent files and the whatnot. Like, these things are rapidly evolving, but having those things in place so that they can get to success faster. Because I think still it's gotten a lot better, but we still have some issues where you ask the AI to integrate Outseta, and it never really works, and then you go back and forth, and it becomes a struggle. So we want to really enable that and lean into more. Then we can have library maybe for server side rendering, protection, that kind of thing. And as we've talked about before, both Framer and Webflow have landed on React components as their kind of a choice for making custom things. And most of the people I see in that space are vibe coding those components. So it's around enabling that. And then the third thing is getting, the engines to recommend you. And how
Right.
do we talk about ourselves in a way that they will recommend us? And that's been a problem for SEO. It's also a problem in this space that we do all of the things. So if somebody asks for payment, we're not going to be recommended. If they ask for auth, we're not going to be recommended because there are some strong competition. But I was analyzing this a little bit with Claude, and it was saying that what we could do if we could prime it so that if somebody asks for auth, the AI know, like, we have enough kind of information that the AI is like, oh, they're asking for auth, but they probably also want, and then we can like sneak our way in, that way. Like if they've been talking about building a SaaS and they're like, oh, I want to add auth. If we have a lot of wording around, you ask for auth, but what you need is, payment and blah, 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 or like, and we can see that in some way, then we can become recommended, even though we're not a strong contender in any of the categories. So we don't know if we're going to succeed, but so that's the 3 AI directions, I guess. But for our customers, our existing customers, like I'm mostly excited about them enabling them to pull out the data and do analyze the data themselves, but also maybe we in the MCP can have some some ready-made kind of tooling that will do that for them. And then eventually maybe in the product, we'll see. But yeah, that was a long answer to your question. This is like 26 minutes of Benedicte being excited about AI after being a grumpy gray-haired skeptic for the last year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it kind of aligns with where I'm at these days as well. I spent some of last week and the week before experimenting with the Userlist MCP server. I'm happy to report that all the work on OAuth and all of that stuff that I had been doing at the beginning of the year paid off. So that authentication part of this experiment works like a breeze. Can just like point Claude or whatever to the MCP address and it signs up itself, it authenticates, it all works. And I've been spending some time of figuring out a proper architecture on our side, how we organize these things. And to be honest, I'm not quite happy with where I landed, but we have at least for now internally a framework of like basically CRUD actions, like tools for create a resource, update a resource, delete and list and read, I guess. And as an experiment, I used this with broadcasts, and it was able to create a new broadcast, and it's showing up in the UI and stuff like that. But what I'm not sure about is like if it makes sense to have like tools to read a thing, or if those things should be what the MCP spec is calling resources. So I guess there's a concept of a file system there as well, and like resource templates where you can basically have dynamic stuff on the virtual file system. And I'm now like in my mind trying to figure out if reading and listing is browsing resources, or should there be a tool for reading and listing? And I haven't gotten to a good answer on that yet. And the other thing I realized, especially related to creating, updating, that we need to maintain the schema of stuff, right? Like the create and update actions, they need to know what they can manipulate in terms of like the broadcast has a name, it has a subject, it has a body, and all of that stuff. And preferably there's descriptions and types and everything. And right now we don't have a central thing in our application that's handling all of these aspects. Like we use JSON API, like the JSON API spec, to how the API should be formatted and stuff like that, how things are named, how things are structured. And we're using a library with basically serializer classes that now a broadcast has these attributes and it should serialize in this particular format. But what we don't have, and what that library we're using doesn't support, is like adding metadata around that, right? Like there's no way to tell it that the title is actually a string and that the title is the name of the broadcast used to give it a good name so you can find it later and stuff like
And it
that.
can be no longer than.
And it can be no longer than that. And like all of that information is kind of necessary for the MCP to work really well. But right now, our application doesn't have a place to centralize all of that stuff. So, of course, what happened last week was that I started looking into replacing our serializer library with a custom built one. Which is an next, like, it's going to be an endeavor, I guess. Like, this has been on my mind for way longer than this, because there are other problems with the library we're using. By the way, it's active model serializers version 0.10, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. And it has some inherent problems already. Like, it's not like, it works for the most part, but there's some weird quirks in there that I don't like. It's also not, I guess it's maintained in maintenance mode, so it gets some updates every couple of months for like a fix to make it compatible with the new Ruby version. But for the most part, it's a pretty dead project.
Yeah, they won't be making this lift. Like
they won't be making this lift, and it's mostly abandoned at this point, I guess. Like, it gets some maintenance, but that's about it. So if we're ever going to get rid of those annoyances and get to something that's like, that does us all the other stuff I just talked about, we will have to replace it with something. And I started looking into what that something might be and did not find anything where I was like, yes, totally, this is the thing. Like, this does all of what I need. Hence, I started building our own thing. And it, like, I'm not saying that like it's a worthless endeavor or whatever. It's just a lot of work. Like, I think I got 70% of it done, but then there's so many small things here and there that I still have to figure out. And unfortunately, it also looks like that we will not be able to run the old version and the new version in parallel, because they have like weird overlap, and at some, like, trying to figure out how to run them in parallel is probably as hard as like just switching over and discovering all the problems manually. So yeah, I think long story short is, I have an experiment that's kind of working, but I also know that there's a lot of work still to be done, and it will be a big effort. And in the end, I'm not sure if we should be doing this or should be doing something else.
But when it comes to the MCP server, will your API like send back error messages if the data that comes in is wrong? Because what I saw, at least
it does,
when I was testing, is that the AI is pretty good. Like, if it's trying to send an MCP request and it's getting an error message back, like, it will fix that, and might even remember it. Like, it might not be that it has to be as perfect as we think. I think it can still be valuable for the early adopter. Like, the people who are doing this now are early adopters. Like, the people who are sitting in Claude Code and writing their emails and pushing them up to your to your MCP server, to your API. Those are the really early adopters, and they're fine if things, there are some rough edges. And often, like, you won't even see it, because the like, these people who are, it seems to me like, at least the marketing folks who are like testing this, the kind of like growth optimizing marketing tinkerers, like, it's a special personality that kind of jumps on these things. They are just like YOLOing things and sending him off into sub agents. So if it takes like 4 tries to get this broadcast up, like, they're not even gonna see that. They're just gonna see it they're just gonna see it when it's done. And that's what, like, I'm trying. That's why I want to do this OpenClaw, and like, really, when I use it, try to kind of be in that mode where, because I think there's something to it where it's actually more productive, like, truly. And you end up with the same result, but because, you have an AI doing it, it doesn't have to be so perfect, because you're not the one reading that error and then trying again and trying again and trying again, right? It's still less cumbersome than logging it, or you're still getting the gain of not having to log in and copy paste, and there's like formatting issues and whatever. So I think as a beta, just say that there's rough
What you're
edges.
saying is just ship it, like don't worry about it, just ship it. Yeah, okay.
I think just ship it. And then, but the other thing where I really think it's interesting, and I've been thinking about a lot for Outsera, and I think kind of where I haven't seen be done so much, but I think it's going to be important, is that you might want to layer in things that that makes it easier for an AI to search through the content that you already have. Because I can see the usefulness of me going into Jean-Claude and saying, what should I write about next? And it using the MCP server to kind of like get a gist of the themes of your emails. And it cannot download all of the emails, or it can. So like what it would do would be like go through, download them all, look through them all, and like use up all of the users tokens. But if we as service providers can kind of provide and it's like a level on top of our content, like these emails, like with some, vector search and some thematic extraction, like we run a little AI on our side that could pull out themes and and like kind of like, because one of the things that makes OpenClaw, it seems so amazing for people, is that it has like this concept of memory. Like it writes down what it's done every day, and like what it and what decisions you've made with it, and then that is fed into like different systems for surfacing the thing, like the themes and the decisions and everything. So I think for a tool like yourselves and like Outset, I think like there's a untapped kind of potential there, where we're sitting on the content, and if we can enable the AI to like search through it and not having to do all of the processing themselves, but letting them also, if then they find a theme and it's like, okay, maybe today's theme will be, I don't know, I'm trying to come up with an example.
Yeah, I get what you're saying though. Yeah,
maybe the theme is like recipes, then it can like ask for the actual emails for recipes after coming up with the theme. So I haven't seen that be done yet. Maybe I would imagine some people doing it, and I think maybe Sanity, which is CMS from Norway, like they've done a lot of work on surfacing their content through their MCP. I haven't looked at if that's what they're doing, but I think there's going to be a space for that. And then we'll have to rig our backends, right? Because then we would need to spend some AI tokens, and we would have to pull out the themes, and like, how do we do that? And would people pay more for that? And yeah, but I think it's an interesting feature.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm making notes as you speak.
And embeddings are cheap.
True.
The other stuff is not so cheap.
Well, yeah, I guess that wraps it up with AI work of the last couple of weeks or days for me. The other thing we've been working on, or actually wrapped up shortly after recording the last episode, was I think I mentioned that we're working on a webhook node for the automations. So that is done now. We shipped it behind the feature flag. It's not public yet, mostly because there is still some, like, I learned a new term, by the way, SSRF, which is probably server-side request forgery, where you can, I guess the gist is, by having a webhook node in a system, you can make HTTP calls to other services on the internet or on the local network, right? Because it's just a computer doing the request. So while this isn't necessarily a big problem for us at the moment because we don't have an internal network or like a hosting environment where we do a lot of like local IP addresses and stuff like that. But potentially a customer of ours could make a call to an internal API or something like that. So there's a lot of stuff that we need to do a little bit more work on, like preventing that and securing the endpoints, or like more like making the node smart enough to detect when it's accessing stuff that it shouldn't be accessing. So we still need to do that, and then we can probably start rolling it out to more people. So yeah, exciting times on that. There's one question I want to get your opinion on, because we have been trying to tackle this internally and haven't gotten a good answer. Initially, this was called the webhook node. So in the visual workflow builder, there's a sidebar and you can drag stuff into the editor, like send a message and stuff like that. And it was called send webhook. However, while working on this, I realized that, at least in my mind, the definition of a webhook is very narrow, right? It's usually a post request with a JSON payload, and that payload is more or less fixed at any time, right? However, the node itself currently supports doing get requests, post requests, delete requests, put requests, patch requests, and you can customize the payload to whatever you want. So internally, I've renamed it from webhook to HTTP request node, and we're debating if we should rename it in the UI as well. Do you have opinions on that?
I would say webhook. And I think when I've been helping people without setup, people actually ask for webhooks. Like they don't, I don't think they have a very narrow definition of what a
Right.
webhook is.
A webhook is something that does stuff on the web.
Yes. And I
Okay.
think it's more of I think that for our users, like both yours and ours, it's more of we actually call them notifications, and you could put in a URL or you can put in an email address. So we have that under kind of the same concept, but people ask for webhooks. That's what they ask us for. And then we're like, it's under notifications. And they're like, what? Even though I feel like notification is a better term in a way, or yeah. So I would keep webhooks. It was called webhooks in Zapier. And I've definitely seen people ask for webhooks specifically, and I have not heard anybody ask about HTTP requests.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. I think internally it's still going to be the HTTP request node, but that doesn't matter what it's labeled in the UI. So yeah, okay, that's a strong argument.
But I would allow it to do all the things you said, because it's
for sure.
Because people have all kinds of setups on like what they expect.
Yes.
Yes.
I try to make it as flexible as possible, and it's even smart enough at this point to allow, like, we have liquid templating, and we expanded the implementation to allow liquid in the URL, in the headers, as well as the content. So you can basically do custom stuff everywhere. And we built some utility features for, like, when you have a user, you can just do /JSON and it will give you a JSON representation of the entire object rather than you having to build it yourself. So hopefully it's pretty well equipped for whatever people want to do. The only thing we didn't do, and I started thinking about this, right now it assumes you're sending JSON, but you might very well use XML, I guess, or something else.
I think I would start with JSON. I think that's pretty.
Yes, yeah. I figured so as well.
But like, I would JSON also support query params, because that's also what people do, actually.
Yeah, you can do this by just editing the URL, right? Because you can.
So what you should do now is have like a really cool demo where it kicks off some like N8 process that does some like crazy AI stuff and a decision tree. How does it get the response back if it takes a long time?
Right now it does. Like right now we don't process responses.
No. So now it just kicks
we
off a
process them.
process.
It kicks them off,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a feature in that it either continues execution of the workflow right away, or it waits for the request to finish at least. But there's no way to inspect the results, so you would.
But you have webhooks. But you have webhooks, so the NHN could reply to a webhook at Userlist.
It could, in theory, yeah. You could figure something
Because then
out.
you could, because then you could update a field. So this is what all of the like YOLO dudes and like sales growth are doing,
Right.
or I'm seeing around the internet, is that they'll kick off some like elaborate N8N that like enriches a person with all kinds of like, what's the company they work for, or I don't know, even these things don't interest me. So I just see them and I like register.
Right.
But and then in your case, you could have a webhook back into Userlist, and then the next node would be what's the status field been set to? Because you can wait, right? You can wait for
right. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can wait for a field to be populated. So then the next node would be wait until status is updated, or a company is updated, or whatever, and then it could continue. Like if you could make a demo like that, then people would be like, yeah. Like Userlist is on the ball.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I need to think
I should
more.
go do that for Outset as well. We can make the same demo.
Yeah, do the same demo and then be like, you can use Userlist or Outsider to do the same thing.
I mean, yours will look so much sleeker because we don't have the builder on a grid that like looks super nice.
But they can do more stuff in Outsider than, because we don't do auth and stuff like that, right? So I guess it depends on what you need to do overall.
Exactly. No, that could be fun. Like we could do a joint stream figuring out the N8N things, because I see, there's a lot of it, like a lot of the AI business enablement space is hanging out in N8N.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a German company.
For? Is it? Well, we got to support the Europeans.
Yeah. What does N stand for? I have got no idea. No.
Is it like a abbreviation? Like we have like, accessibility is like a something.
16N.
Yeah, and then internationalization is.
Yeah, I assumed that it is, but I have actually no idea.
Maybe N8N stands for like automation or something like that. I don't know.
Let's see, does there Nodemation.
Exactly. I was right.
Yep.
I've been around the internet for too long.
N8N, yes, short for Nodemation. Is it actually? Yes, it's 8 characters.
Yeah. So a really, really cool thing that's happened at SSRF, which is not accessible to our customers yet, is we now have a little support bot that Pierre has created, and it writes a note on the ticket. So we don't reply. The bot doesn't reply, but it writes a note, so a draft kind of, and then we can do like copy to reply, and then we can change things out. And then sometimes it's like totally off the rockers, and sometimes it's really good. But because we have that human in the loop thing, it's been mostly very helpful. And he's now testing out different models. Now we have a little thumbs up, thumbs down. So, and we don't know which model is doing which ones. So he has some like.
So you can like rate
we're
it
voting
in secret.
And then we'll see which of the setups that are giving us the best responses. So I think that's been actually like a very big enabler for us in terms of time spent and just like energy. Most like energy spent you have. For me, it's often like just a starting point, but like, it gets you over that, like, oh, let's research this issue.
Right.
Hump. Yeah. I guess that's it.
I guess let's wrap it up. I have more stuff to talk about, but we can do that in the next episode, I guess.
This is going to be titled the AI episode number 2.
Number 2. I have a feeling the way this is going these days, that's not a good naming scheme, because we will end up with the AI episode number 250 or something like that. Yeah.
AI slow and steady. Slow AI. Sorry.
Yeah, something like that. I'm trying to come up with good puns with slow and steady and AI, but I can't, at least not on the spot. But yeah, I have a feeling that's what it's going to be about this year.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think so.
Well, have a good one, and see you around the internet.